But you meet high value women right now at your age that are single, right? And they're of your age, I'm assuming. They could be a little bit younger, a little bit older than me.
Sure. I meet high value women of all ages, yeah.
But you know what? You're not marrying them.
But that's not, but you can see the difference is, I've been married twice.
You've been in that area already.
And the difference, but see, the difference is, if I want to be married, I can be married in 6 months. See, you guys are. But today, women expect to be paid, compensated to do what they've always done. We hear about Anthony Anderson, and he's getting a divorce, and it's in that, and you know, I don't know all the particulars, but I do know she's asking for half plus some. And I'm hearing women saying, well, then she should get paid for raising her children and this and that. And I'm like, why should women get paid for raising their own kids? Why should women get paid for doing what women have always done? But men are just expected to do it. When the relationship ends, women want kids. They want the money. They want this. Women today want men to pay them to go on dates. You want men to pay for everything. And then if the relationship ends, and typically when a relationship ends, 80% of the time, women are ending relationships. So if marriages are initiated by men almost 100% of the time, and relationships or no marriages are ended almost 90% of the time by women, women expect to be paid. Meaning, I've asked this question. Ladies, if you're already, like when I have my focus group, by the way, if you want to be a part of the New York City or Brooklyn focus group, hit me up on DM. You got to have your account has to be, it can't be private. I need to see who you are. I need to be able to also go check your LinkedIn page. Single, not married, no children. Under 35, under 40. Preferably under 35, you know, 25 to 37, preferably. Women who have a relationship potential. But anyway, why is it that women today have no problem asking men to pay for everything, but yet you only can be feminine for a man who can pay the bills? You can only do X, Y, and Z if a man can afford to do this, this, this. So why not just go ahead and tell us how much it costs? If there's a menu list of stuff, here's what femininity costs, here's how much sex costs, how much this, and just present us a bill. But in that way, wouldn't you still just be like a high-priced escort? I mean, all joking aside, women today want men to pay them to be women. We're not talking about just in divorced people. You got kids, how you gonna do all that and the business?
You're right. It would be hard to juggle, but it happens.
Does it?
I think so. I've seen successful women entrepreneurs, but
Black women?
Okay, I've seen a lot of successful women, Black entrepreneurs, but majority of the time they are single.
What do you get from that knowledge right there?
It's hard to balance.
There is no balance. There is no balance.
Okay.
Because when you get an entrepreneur, you're generally getting boss bitch energy.
But what if you don't give off that energy?
A blind squirrel will find a nut. Somebody got to win the lotto, but I don't deal in what ifs. I deal in what is.
Okay.
Do you want to be the provider, or do you want your husband to be the provider?
I would want my husband to be the provider. I don't want to pay significant bills.
Okay, so again, it's one thing to have to take care of yourself, but it's another thing to still be trying to be a mother, a wife, and a business owner. You cannot have it all. You got to give. The men are looking for anything different. It's like you have to be what those guys are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you got to have a job right now because you got to be able to take care of yourself. And most women want to be able to have a man who can provide, but men who can provide come with rules.
They do. And a lot of men who provide step outside of the marriage as well.
So
And that's okay, right? I'm just asking.
I'm asking you,
It's something,
can you handle it? Here's a question: can you handle it if they do?
yes.
There's a reason. I know a lot of women don't like that, but a lot of women today want it all. I'm like the cleanup Betty Wright, the cleanup woman. I mean, grandmama, granddaddy. I don't know. I feel a empathy from women today because you've been told you could have it all
Yeah.
and you can't.
Okay.
And it's about choices and trade. Granddaddy, I don't know. I feel a empathy from women today because you've been told you could have it all
Yeah.
and you can't.
Okay.
And it's about choices and trade-offs. What is more important? Do you want a man who doesn't step out? Because I'm not saying every guy will, but I'm saying if he does and you don't find out about it, what difference does it make?
It doesn't make a difference.
So why go look for
But
the
then
problem? That's my point.
being in the nightlife a little bit, I think you're more open-minded to those type of things because you see more. So I think my mindset might be different from the average woman.
Average what woman?
Average
I think a lot of black
modern.
women want.
I'm gonna say modern. I'm not gonna put a
I
quote on
think
it,
a
but
lot
just
of sisters want. I think a lot of sisters have a fantasy view of marriage because I don't. You want alpha male providers, alpha male looks, alpha male height, all this alpha. Then you want strict loyalty and monogamy, and quarterback go choose to become a baby daddy. I mean, a stepfather, and you wouldn't see Tom Brady doing that. And far too many guys today, especially black men, are starting to say we're not stepping up to be stepdaddies. They're just not. Especially the kind of men especially the men who are in the top 20%, who can call some shots. So what does that leave women? What does that leave a lot of women? If you're looking strictly for husbands, if men who are in the marrying category aren't looking to be stepfathers, what does that mean?
I didn't hear the last part because my phone rang.
If men who are in the husband category are not looking to be stepfathers, what does that leave women with children who want to be married?
Single or sidelines.
And that's an unfortunate reality.
But it's the truth.
That's gonna prohibit you more than anything else, the kid. And I'm not supposed to say it, but it's the truth. Especially when you start talking about a man who can make some choices. So ladies, I don't know. And why we're on this is because you ladies women in general have been told the opposite. And that's where all this confusion is coming in. Y'all aren't getting the result. So I'll ask you a question before you run. If you're not getting back to the child's father, how do you think you can make your how do you think you can make your child an asset to the kind of man you want to marry?
How can I make my child an asset?
To the kind of man you would want to marry?
I feel like I would have to train her to be an asset, as in get her ready for life in general. Put her in classes, make sure she's smart, make sure she's not, put in that time to make her a better person. Correct?
I'm asking. No, I'm asking because
I'm just asking, am I right?
The question is how to make your child an asset to that man. That
Right.
makes her an okay person. But how can your doubt? And this is a question all women are going to have to answer for themselves. How are my children benefiting you as my husband?
I never thought about that.
Well, and that's the problem.
What would you suggest? I'm just wondering because
I would say it's going to be extremely difficult. But what I would suggest is women who actually think about it from the man's side, understanding that my child today is a liability because it costs. So number one, is she well-mannered, well-behaved, smart, taken care of? Does she understand? And do I really believe that you're going to come second to my husband? Is my husband going to come first? Or is it we're a package deal? If you're a package deal, that's no deal. I'll be honest, it's a package deal, that's no deal, because let's say you and I were to get married, you got a daughter, right? And let's say we have 2 kids together. And your child is 5. So 10 years from now, your daughter comes home and says, Kevin looked at me getting out of the shower. What happens next?
The relationship would have to end.
Huh?
That's not something the relationship would end immediately.
Because your daughter said I looked at her getting out of the shower.
Why would that person need to be close to the bathroom to see her? That would be the thing. You have to defend your seed. You have to defend your child.
But you also remember you got 2 of my kids. So that means I should never listen to it. That means I should avoid women like you, because off the rip, your desire to defend your child blew up. You got 2 of my kids, and off rip, your protective instinct says fuck everything, including those other 2 kids.
Understood.
Do you?
No, I understand.
You said the relationship would have to end. So what would you tell our 2 children?
That's a tough situation.
No, you said the relationship would have to end. So
but it would have to end, because
but what would you tell
any of my kids? If I have 3 kids, 1 by someone else and 2 by my future
But what I'm
husband,
telling you, what I'm saying is what we tell our 2 children.
Your half sister stated this happened and this is not a comfortable situation and we have to part ways.
You get the fuck out. You can get the fuck out.
Because I'm not the one paying the bills.
No, because you're not taking my kids. See, that's what I mean. Y'all act like y'all got too much power.
It's not power. I'm really
First of all, you didn't even. First off, you didn't even. I just said if she said it, you didn't even question whether or not the claim was there. Because that's your child. That's why I'm saying your child can never be an asset to anybody, because that's the bomb that's always there.
Okay.
Because, and what the fuck? What could a man do about that? I could provide everything. We could have children, and automatically you're gonna jump off rip, go for your child. Your child. So don't ask me to treat your child like it's biologically mine, when you be willing to blow up my biological children's shit for something else. And kids can say anything.
They can, but you have to protect your kids at all costs.
Then
and you have to talk.
Then no. Leave. No. See, I want you to understand that you have no empathy for men. It's about you and your kid. I'm somebody's child.
Yes.
What about those children we have together? Ma'am, you're not right in this.
I'm not debating you.
We're debating the concept.
Yeah,
that you got to protect your kids at all costs. So then you need to go be with your child's father, and y'all need to work that out so that can never come up. Because let's switch the situation. If I'm that child's biological father, and she comes out of the shower, and 10 years later, Daddy looked at me a certain kind of way, and I'm her biological dad, then what do you say? See, but you notice how you couldn't pull rank on me? You couldn't pull that. We got to separate. You couldn't pull rank on me. You couldn't pull biological rank. You want to, but you're like, well, damn, it's his kid too.
It would have to be an end situation as well.
And you'd have to get the fuck out. And you'd have to get out. And you'd have to get out.
Understood. I completely understand that.
So the end would be for who? You'd be leaving. But that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about the end situation. I'd be leaving with my child.
I understand, Kevin.
And I want everybody in the audience to understand, this is why you don't deal with women with children, because, especially in our community, there is no blending families when this kind of stuff comes up. Because single mothers are too used to pulling rank.
Okay.
This is why single mothers are potentially so dangerous, because you're not used to having to actually split the responsibility. It's your child. And that's fine. But then why should any man have to deal with that? Why would you just believe her?
Why would I just believe my daughter?
Yeah, children lie.
Grown
Are you
men
kidding
lie
me?
too. Excuse me?
I said, look. And you said grown men lie.
Your phone is freezing.
Okay, you said grown men lie too. I said, she's, okay, and this is my point. And this is my point. We go all the way back to the club and the bartending. And that's why I mentioned your mentality is warped. You don't trust men.
Mm-hmm. But
See,
if I never brought that aspect up, would your sentiments be the same?
We'd have got there eventually, because it's all ultimately going to come down to how you feel about men.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm always on task. You may not know why I'm asking what I'm asking, but the point of the matter is, whatever issue or whatever the way you look at men is just going to taint. It's going to color your perception of men throughout everything else.
Okay.
And it would be better for you to understand that and men to understand that, and just leave each other alone. Because, man, do you think highly of men? No.
Just life. And it's always been that thing where I just felt like I could not talk about, because I was really just putting other people before myself. I was trying to protect the image of my dad, not just because he is a figure in the community and that far. But what I do always remember is that I always felt like I was second. I always felt like I didn't matter. See, look, I'm about to cry. And I told myself I'm not gonna cry about like me and my dad not having a relationship anymore, but just talking about some of the things that have affected. My dad was physically there, but he was never mentally or emotionally there. And that is an issue within itself. I'm not going to talk about how my dad grew up, because I have no idea. Every time I tried to talk to him to get him to open up so that I can understand him, he just made jokes. Like, I remember a couple of months ago, I was like, Dad, did you ever deal with any traumas growing up, like, that made you who you are? And he was like, well, that one time your Uncle D, he stuck me with a diaper pin when he was changing my diaper when I was like 2. Like, he just takes things as jokes. I don't know if it's because, as how most men are, they don't like to open up. I don't know. I really don't care. Because I just feel like what you deal with growing up, you have the ability to decide how you're going to use that. You can use it to hurt people, or you can use it to say, you know what, I don't want to instill that in the people in my life. And you just keep it moving. So I primarily spent a lot of time at my dad's mother's house growing up, because I just feel like what you deal with growing up, you have the ability to decide how you're going to use that. You can use it to hurt people, or you can use it to say, you know what, I don't want to instill that in the people in my life. And you just keep it moving. So I primarily spent a lot of time at my dad's mother's house growing up, because my sister didn't like going over there. She hated it. And I loved it, because not only did I just absolutely love my grandmother and her husband, but because I was the only one there, I always got the attention there that I did not get at home. So I felt loved. I felt all of that. And I just became really depressed. For 9 years, I dealt with depression. I dealt with a lot of anxiety. I used to have panic attacks, like in my sleep, waking up, just feeling like I couldn't breathe. And it just was really bad, because I had to watch her disintegrate, like literally. She had pancreatic cancer, and she died about 2.5 years after she was diagnosed, so it wasn't anything fast. And I think sometimes the slower deaths are just as bad as the fast ones, because you literally watch somebody get really, really bad. I became suicidal, because I just felt like the one person that I never had to question their love for me was gone. yeah, I just always felt like I was second. One of the things that my dad used to do that really bothered me, and he actually laughed about it in Sunday's incident, and basically kind of threw his hands up as if it was like, whatever, like that's what, and he literally said, that's what you're mad about. I remember growing up, he grabbed me by my hair, and in the midst of doing that, threw my head up against the car window. And I just remember thinking to myself, what did I do wrong? And you're talking about somebody, I didn't even get whoopings, I didn't get punishment, I didn't get grounded, I didn't get any of that. Because I was a good kid. I had a smart mouth sometimes. Because I was just too smart for my own good, but I was a good kid. So to not even get whoopings and to have something like that happen was really traumatic. And I remember when we got home, when I got out the car, he threw me up against the car. Probably one of the reasons why I have a bad back. My back is horrible. And that was that. I just remember hating him and feeling like the person that's supposed to protect me is not.
Or unless he's styling somebody for an interview with Exxon or Shell, how is that going to help him? It's not. Kevin Samuels lied because Kevin Samuel is a pathological liar. He's a bougie ass nigga that has to look good at all times. He doesn't like looking bad. He's one of those Negroes that has to, when he's in a crowd, he has to be relevant. He has to be. You know, he has to be the sharpest dressed. He has to be the one that has education. Oh, you went to Harvard? Oh, I went to Yale. You know, he's a con artist. I mean, you're witnessing right before your eyes on YouTube a nigga conning his way to 1 million subscribers. And the sad thing is that black people fell for that shit. And more importantly, that just shows you how dumb black men are. That shows you how dumb as a whole we are. I'm not dumb because I never fell for the nigga shit. But that's how dumb as a group black men are. So how are you going to be able to protect your community or hold anybody accountable when you won't even hold Kevin Samuels accountable? How are you going to hold anybody accountable when the first person you need to be holding accountable is Kevin Samuels? There's footage all over YouTube about Kevin Samuels talking about how he graduated from the University of Oklahoma in Norman, which is a fine school, I may add. I've also, matter of fact, I've dated somebody that went to OU. So OU, and she was very smart girl. Matter of fact, I think she graduated maybe 5th in her class, in her entire class. Very bright girl. But I digress. We gonna talk about Kevin Samuels lying. I'm finna play a clip right now, and this clip is gonna be from Vlad TV, but this is gonna be after he got busted about lying, so he couldn't lie anymore. That's the thing, is that somebody had to go out here and fact check Kevin Samuels, because he would have kept on with the lie. But so when he interviewed with Vlad TV, he switched it up, but he still wouldn't accept, because he's a pathological liar. He still would not accept telling the truth. Let's look at that clip for a second.
To the University of Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
and you studied chemical engineering.
Yes, I did.
Okay, why chemical engineering? Because, you know, I studied computer science, and I remember my AP chemistry classes that I just failed completely because it was just way too hard.
Well, I wanted to go to medical school.
Why the fuck you lying?
I studied chemical engineering.
Why you always lying?
When I went to school my freshman year, Black Monday happened. So that's when the bottom fell out of the Wall Street, and everybody that was graduating was coming back from business, and they couldn't get jobs. So people in engineering were able to get internships and able to get employment after college. So because I had a scientific mind.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
And you graduated?
No.
Okay, you dropped out.
Dropped out. You could say, yeah, I had cancer.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
Kevin Samuels is a liar. Now let's go over real quick that exchange between him and Vlad. Ass a year and graduated. This nigga is lying his ass off in everything. You cannot believe this nigga on nothing, because the logic does not add up with this nigga. Point blank. Let's go to the next segment.
Got scholarships. They gave me the money. I went to school, but I hated the work. So after I left school, graduated, I was like, I'm done. Hated the work. So after I left school, graduated, I was like, I'm done.
As you can see, Kevin Samuels on his own show is sitting there lying to his audience. You guys should be offended. All you guys that watch Kevin Samuels, y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Well, actually, you should be stupid, because he's sitting there right there lying to your face, lying to you. Kevin Samuels lies about everything. None of this data or he's so lazy that he don't know if that data is true or not. You know, he's so lazy that he has to use somebody else's data to make points, because he can't do the work himself. Kevin Samuels is nothing but a finesser. That's what he is. He's a finesser because he can't do the work himself. Kevin Samuels is nothing but a finesser. That's what he is. He's a finesser. But the sad thing is that black men in our community, we like niggas like this. We like fuck niggas like this. We like niggas that finesse people, rob people, sell people drugs, lie to people, scam people and shit. Those are the things that we like. We like bullshit like that.
Chemical engineering. So that's my degrees in chemical engineering. But spent 25 years in background is chemical engineering. So that's my degrees in chemical engineering. But, well, thank you.
Did you say you majored in chemical engineering?
Degree.
Why the fuck
degree.
you lying?
I'm doing electrical engineering.
Why you always lying?
Did you say you majored in chemical engineering?
Degree.
Like I said, Kevin Samuels is nothing but a 2-bit hustling ass slick nigga in a suit.
That's proved their image. Kevin graduated from the University of Oklahoma with a chemical engineering degree and is now based in Atlanta. Damn. Hey.
So you fools call in because you're in alignment with his frequency. It makes sense that the deaf, dumb, and blind will be calling the deaf, dumb, and blind to get guidance on relationships and love. Respectfully. This man is dragging these women, fat shaming. I mean, the way he talked about overweight women, what this is shit that teenagers do. This your man, B? This your man's right here? Sitting around laughing and talking about over women and mocking them for their weight? Who does that? So the emotional abuse that this man was perpetrating on his channel, yeah, we take into account the women that called him for it, but that doesn't excuse the behavior. Why are you guys so afraid to hold men accountable? I'm not just talking to men. I'm talking to men and women. Y'all so thirsty to see a man that has charm and knowledge and a platform and, you know what I'm saying, that can smile and say it to you. You accepting 60% and ignoring the other 40% of bullshit. I would have never been able to listen to somebody that talked about men the way that this man talked about women. I would never sit up and listen to half of these nitwits online talking about divesting from black men and get you a white man or get you a Chinese man. What would I look like sitting back and listening to some shit like that and then turning around and talking about this is wisdom? Y'all, listen, y'all don't read enough. If y'all think that shit was deep, you need to read more. Get off the internet. Turn off YouTube. Throw the phone away.
Not just your mama. You used to get a whooping by Mr. Brown if Mr. Brown saw you doing something wrong because you were accountable to the community, not just your mama and daddy. I'm gonna leave that sitting right there. The women today don't fear what Sean Connery told Barbara Walters. There are times when the best course of action is to slap a woman. That's what Sean Connery said. It's still on YouTube right now. Go look at it. And Barbara Walters was like, thought he was going to recant his statement, and he doubled down. He said, let me explain what I mean. He's like, women have a way of not knowing how to let things go. You can give up the argument. You can let it go. They can know they've won. There's nothing else to be gained, and they will continue to push and push and push. And he said, at that point, once you've exhausted all other options, then a slap becomes a good option. And you only have to do it once. Shahrazad Ali tried to say that stuff, and it set the black community on fire. Why is this? Because between the men on this platform right now, if we were in public, we have to moderate what we say, whether we know each other or not, because there's a low-level threat of violence and aggression between all men. Fuck YouTube, fuck degrees, fuck money. You cross a certain line with a man, we're going to have to shoot the fair one. We know that. You can be in a wheelchair, you can be on a crutch, you can, whatever. You can be special. You got to do that. But see, there is no low-level threat of violence between women and men today. Women are allowed to be verbally disrespectful beyond the point of reason because there's no consequence, because they don't fear the repercussion. So listening to that, and this is why, anybody familiar with the concept of domestic discipline? No. Domestic discipline, in a nutshell, is me and Courtney are married. And Courtney and I are vibing. But Courtney knows that she can get on one sometimes. And we sit down and say, when you get on one, and after we go through the process, and I use the safe word, banana split, and you still stay on one after I say banana split. You heard me say banana split. I acknowledge you heard me say banana split, and you stay on one. Well, then it's time for the domestic discipline. And it is exactly what it sounds like. Lay across the knee and on the ass. Thank you. I am not kidding. I am not kidding. And what I will do is I will put the links to the women who teach this stuff. And this has been talked about in sectors of the manosphere. It's adult correction. And
I've never heard of that before in my entire life.
I hadn't heard of it until I got here on YouTube, but I'd heard of the concept, but I didn't hear it that way. And the thing is, it doesn't, and it's nonviolent. And here's the point. Can you imagine being a grown woman and you got to hear banana split, and you know you should have stopped and you kept on going, and then you got to, and you volunteer, and the woman has to volunteer for this. She volunteers to do this. It's not coerced, and it doesn't rise to the point of respect. Lay down, get the paddle out. All right now, Courtney, you know banana split. And
I'm always researching what's going on YouTube and etc., because that's how I make some of my money. If the Kevin Samuels thing, I realized if you watch those, I never knew what struck me as off about it. The women are so ridiculous because half of it's not real. Though a lot of them are women, they're purposely playing up. They're like acting more ridiculous than normal so that they can appear on his YouTube channel, because everybody wants attention now, right? Women are attention whores, but so are guys. Because a lot of that, like a lot of the way they describe their lives is, I mean, ridiculous, and they act dumb like, what? I can't have that? Come on. Some people are that stupid, but not that many. And then now as I look through the faces, I'm like, oh, I know she's a wannabe comedian or influencer. I've seen faces of people I know who they are on there. A lot of what you probably see on the internet and you think is actual information is people trying to get views. And this is very important, because if you think you're watching it for information, if you think you turned off the major networks and, oh, I'm going to go on YouTube and I'm going to get to the real people, well, now that the big money or significant money has moved in to micro content, influencers, whatever you want to call it, well, they're subject to the same money pressures or behavior being controlled by the desire to maximize profit as these big networks that you turned away from in the first place. So, I remember, this is kind of, might seem like a different topic than Kevin Samuels, but it's all the same topic. It's about taking things that you think are serious information that have an emotional context for you and using them to market something. When the lead up to the Trump election, or 2016 when Trump won, one of the first big alt-right guys that got a lot of attention was named Richard Spencer. He was the one, they would do like Nazi salutes a little bit, but he was like a youngish guy, kind of Aryan looking, like blonde and blue-eyed, probably in his early 30s at the time, Richard Spencer. And he's the one who somebody punched him, I think, in public. What does it have? Yeah, somebody punched him in public, but he got on like the NBC nightly news and all that stuff. He was considered someone important in the political landscape for a period of time. And he got interviewed maybe, might have been 60 Minutes. It was was it 60 Minutes? It was like a, air quotes, legitimate news thing on one of the big networks. And they were asking about his college career, and he said, oh, I studied avant-garde theater. If you don't know what avant-garde means, it means like cutting edge or fringe art. So you're doing like weird art things. And then I realized, well, that's what he's doing. His whole alt-right routine, maybe he believed in some of it to some degree, but I think a lot of these influencers are, because I'm just not a bad person, but a lot of these influencers are finding out, realizing what politicians and just powerful people have known probably from all of history, but definitely since the invention of modern media formats and newspaper, that a substantial portion of the population is shockingly easily controlled. So it's funny to look at, it's interesting to look at Kevin Samuels. He was kind of, when he moved from his content of, telling men what they should do, to in the end, when he was getting really popular, when it was just women calling in and saying totally absurd things and him castigating them, how much of that was real? And I'm not saying he was setting it up, though I wouldn't be surprised, because when he realized you can do that. I mean, look at Whack 100 and what people just arguing on the internet because people like to watch it. It's pretty strange. So P.T. Barnum may be the most important character to study, to understand what's going on in the modern world. If you don't know who P.T. Barnum is, consult your local Wikipedia. They're open usually late on the weekend. Our prophet, stay woke or get the gun smoke.